A children's game. Entry 2. "Oh child, you husha now," Grandma said. Her teeth glistened of saliva with crumbs steeped in the corners of her mouth. "Come get you a plate and you can tell me all about that bad dream of yours." I started to get out of bed, and then it occurred to me. I hadn't mentioned a bad dream. I looked up at Grandma. Lost in my pensive thought, I hadn't heard her approach. She was standing over me. The warmth of her breath moved tufts of hair around my head. "Don't you not worry none, gal. I done raised me a girl or two. I know when a child had a nightmare." "You ain't a bedwetter, right?" Grandma asked. "No ma'am," I replied. I was actually a little offended at the insinuation, but I shrugged it off. I was hungry, and if eating that good made Grandma better, I wanted my fair share. We left the room and headed to those damn stairs. Grandma elegantly made her descent. She was nimble and light. I followed her close, but my knees felt like they were going to pop on each step. They burned and cursed me. Finally, the kitchen. It was a small room. Pots and scoured pans were placed haphazardly along the walls. A stove was in the furthest corner, and its gleaming ivory was far and away from the yellow, grease-smeared walls. It looked like the one tooth that kids would brush real hard before going to the dentist. There was a wooden table plopped in the center of the room. I couldn't help but notice 4 chairs, one on each side of the table. "Does anyone else live here, like my grandpa?" I asked. "Nothing to the like," Grandma said. Her cadence and tone were whimsical. "This is a gal's house," she continued. I was fine with this answer. More food for me. My mother walked in. I was happy. Somebody else got trash sleep, just like me. Her complexion was pale. Her lips were near indigo and dark circles camped in the luggage beneath her eyes. Her hair was a frizzled and stringy mass. "I'm glad to see you decided to stay on the side of the living. Though not by much, by the looks of it. Come on gal and lemme fix you up a plate and put some color on you before somebody thinks they missed a Y-cut," Grandma said. "Mommy, were you a bedwetter when you were a kid?" I asked. I don't know where the question came from. It's like someone reached in me and pulled it out. I could hear my voice, but the words weren't mine. As soon as those words slapped my mother's ears, her eyes widened. She stammered and stuttered, "Mamie." "No." Her gait was unsteady as she approached the table. Her hand clasped a chair firmly, scraping the floor as she dragged it back. "Oh my God! What is this doing here?" she exclaimed. Mother reached down and pulled up a doll. I knew it. I hadn't been dreaming. The doll looked even worse than before. Its legs were damp and grease-covered. Its hair was even more sparse. It resembled a doll that had been combed too thoroughly by a bored child. But those eyes. They fixed on me. I was sure of it. Black buttons that stared deep into me, breaking windows of innocence to let fear reside. "Go upstairs, Lucille," my mother yelled. She hadn't done that since Daddy left. She said all we had was each other. "Move it," she said again. This must be what rage looked like. My feet scampered as I left her. But I couldn't go far. They both seemed so different and I needed to know why. I waited around a corner by the stairwell. Their voices were distinct angry whispers. "Mother, you can't do this. Camille is dead," Mommy said. "This has nothing to do with her," Grandma said. "Then why do you still have this damned doll?" Mommy yelled. A loud wet slapping sound came next. "You better watch your sass with me. I'm old for damn sure, but ain't a day to this date that something I created will ever talk to me like that. You need me for a place to stay. You can't afford a lick of that shanty anymore since your husband left, so now you want to come home to Mama. You upset me and sent the little one off hungry and bothered. I'll fix her up something good. You best stay out my way." I don't have time to waste. Grandma hissed. I went upstairs as quickly as I could. My room seemed so far, but I made it. I could hear the creak and whine of the stairs. Was I next? I thought. I made it to my room and wiped away little tear streams from my face. Who is Camille? What does this doll have to do with her or me? I thought. Grandma was in the doorway. Grandma had a plate in her hands. That plate had food. I liked Grandma. Normally, an eavesdropper gets a good hide tanning, but I think I slapped enough barnyard parts today. Have you some? Okay, doll. Grandma said. Her smile was so serene. Who is Camille? I asked. She knew I heard her talking to Mommy, so it didn't make sense to pretend not to know anything. Grandma gently put the plate down. She looked down at me. Coming closer, she whispered in my ear. If I tell you, it has to be our secret, okay? I nodded yes. Finish your food and come to my room when you are done. I'll explain everything, Grandma said. Okay, I huffed while stuffing this wonderfully greasy and salted assortment in my mouth.